Hello and welcome once again to the FwdCompatible podcast. This is episode 84, part 2 for September 15th, 2013. My name's Tony and I'm joined, as always, by my fellow podcasters Jason, Mark, and Mossies.
I got goldfish. I was starving.
I got peanuts.
Wasting away to nothing.
I got peanuts. What do you got?
I had a donut stick I just finished. Cool.
Yeah. This, of course, is part 2. In the event you have yet to do so, please do either pause the video or click out or check it out later. We're in part 1 where we discuss this week's news as well as cover the readers' questions for the week.
Burning questions.
Burning questions, yes, sir. But this, of course, is part 2 where...
I just wanted you to sit back because the way you were angled, the light, you had no face.
No face!
No face!
But this, of course, is part 2 where we discuss... Tony's topic of the week.
I don't have to add an echo to that one.
Brought to you by Goldfish. Pepperidge Farm, give us money.
And Pepsi
Pepperidge
Max.
Farm remembers.
Pepsi Max. I hate Pepsi Max, by the way. It's so inferior to Coke Zero. Continue.
Rock on.
He's leading the shit. Continue.
Sponsored by McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. McDonald's gives us money.
McDonald's has Coke Zero, not Pepsi Max.
Somebody just
That's
give us
fact.
money to be sponsored by you.
Yeah.
Unless they're doing this. Any money.
So... we had, we're actually doing a two-parter part 2, if you will.
Oh, wow.
A twofer. We have one thing that needs to be covered this week, and we also had a big, huge story, so I wanted to get them both in. The first
He
of
was
which,
jetting into the twofer.
the first of which is Sony had a couple of pre-TGS announcements that they released, and I wanted to kind of break those down. The first of which is a long rumored, and I've been saying that this was one of my predictions for the last 3 conferences, and it never came true. But now it has.
It was actually it was on the list.
Yeah, they're finally doing a Vita redesign, a 2000 model, if you will. It's going to be lighter, thinner, taller. It's got
Shake it.
It's got redesigned buttons, 1 gigabyte of internal memory, and they're dropping the gorgeous OLED screen in favor of an LCD screen to cut costs.
Yeah, even LCD, I mean, that's going out already. That's replaced almost entirely.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about this design that I think is a, for price points.
First thought, without delving into any of the other things you talked about, are you getting it?
No.
No. Okay.
This isn't the redesign I wanted.
Just curious.
For me, this I think is going to be very similar to what happened with the PS3. With the PS3, as it got redesigned, they dropped a lot of features from the original Fat model to cut costs and to make a larger... What is going on?
He's like staring at you while shoving peanuts in his mouth. But he's got like this focus on you, and he's just like...
I don't remember them ever cutting any PS3 features.
The backwards compatible.
Yeah.
BAM!
Ooh.
Yeah.
In your face, Moss.
Where they've actually they've gotten less and less with them now, and if you look, like the actual Fat models still to this day are worth significantly more pre-owned than even a brand new PS3 is because of the features that got dropped. And if they stick with the LCD screen, I think the original Vita models are actually going to be that diamond in the rough, like as the Vita's life cycle extends into 5, 6, 7 years. I think these first models are going to be the ones that are going to be harder to acquire. They're going to be worth a lot more, and because of the drop features. Another features they're dropping is the mystery port on the top of the Vita, which nobody knows what it does yet. Sony included this extra slot everybody assumed it was going to be to plug the thing into your PS4 or your television to have exactly what they're anticipating with doing, which we'll get to in a minute later, but they never came out with the connecting cord. So it's just this weird flap that opens up with a slot in it for this connector I've never seen before that nobody knows what the hell it does.
Same way the PSP had the little port on the top of it, which eventually ended up being for the camera that came out like 20 years after the PSP.
Yeah, nobody cared anymore. So, yeah, but I kind of think that's what's going to happen. The thing's supposed to be like lighter and thinner and all that, and to me, I think the Vita is actually really ergonomical right now for my size hands. I don't know how other people feel. I think the thing's perfect, and the thing that bugged me about like the PSP 3000 specifically was it started feeling they got too light and flimsy with it. It almost felt like cheap in your hands.
That's like the exact same PlayStation 3. The Super Slim, I think, it feels cheap.
And that's how I feel about the DualShock 3. Is it feels really plasticky, really too light and too like cheap feeling.
Yeah, so I think if they take too much weight off the Vita, it's gonna feel weird. It's probably just because that's what I'm used to, and if you never play with the original Vita, then the redesign won't whatever.
Regardless of what it is, you like to have a little bit of weight in your hand. I mean, even with a phone, if they make it too kind of light, it doesn't feel right.
They are adding a lot of good stuff too. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's all bad. The screen's a big down step, but whatever.
Did you check out the screenshots of those? A lot of the games seem to look better on it, but I don't know if that was touched up work. I mean, they seem very posed.
I'm not going to trust the phone camera taking a picture of a screen through the internet on another screen.
This is true, yeah.
You know what I mean? But they did
make compressed like 3 times before the time you even saw it. So
they did make some improvements though. If one of the other 6 owners of a Vita's out there,
we're up to 8.
The start and select button are atrociously designed. They were meant to not get in the way and to almost be hard to push, and they are almost too hard. They're really, really small, and they're completely flat with the Vita, so you don't accidentally hit them. You still have to depress them. But they're so small that it's kind of a pain in the ass when you do need to utilize them. And they made them... They're still that same flush design, but they're significantly better. And they finally added internal memory. I don't think it's enough. It's only 1 gigabyte. But at least it'll allow you to have saves if you're sheerly using cartridge-based games. So the 1 gigabyte will be enough to save. I think they should have thrown in 32 or 64 gigs with it. Memory's so cheap right now.
They would have started with 16.
Not for Sony.
Well, no, there's a difference between their proprietary additional memory cards. Like an internal piece of the hardware, memory's cheap,
Yeah.
So
always having their proprietary memory.
Yeah.
Stupid Duo Stick.
So, I don't know, any thoughts on the Vita redesign?
Still not buying it.
I mean, if I had the choice, because, I'm on the fence of getting one eventually or not. I think it's definitely been downgraded since I'm probably going to get that Surface Pro, but it's got kind of a nicer look to it, I guess. I mean, it's just the second version of it. They polished it up a little bit. Overall, I think it's very, very similar to what it was already, though.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it really needed it. And then, were you going to go into the new memory size that's only going to be...
Yeah, that was the last thing I was going to bring up.
Okay.
They... Go ahead, though.
Okay. They're going to be coming out with 64 gigabytes memory, and it's Japan only right now.
Well, all this is Japan only.
Yeah. Well, yeah. True.
So, because it was for the TGS show, but yeah, they're coming out with a 64 gig card. That's irrelevant. You can just go on Amazon and buy one. They're all the same thing. There's no.
Yeah, I don't think
there's
it
no
won't be
region.
region coded.
There's no region
Sony
anyway. It's a fucking memory unit, so you can just slide it in. It's
you buying one?
Yeah, immediately. Day fucking one. I got a full 32 gig and a full 16 gig, and I can finally condense them all into one. The trade-in values are really good, actually, on the 2 cards that I have, where it almost be... It's going to cost me like... They did the yen to American conversion, and it sounds like it's going to cost about $100. And I could trade mine in.
But it's like $89.99 plus
US
tax.
dollar?
Yeah.
And I could trade my shit in for like 70 or 80. So I'll be like, and then I'll just be getting more memory.
Are you
all
gonna
the
trade
other
in
one
those
card.
other two?
I'm probably just gonna trade in the 16.
That's what I would say to do.
And I'm going to throw everything on the 64, and once that fills up, I'll have a backup 32.
Yeah.
So you buy another
My
64?
my case holds multiple memory cards, my little thingy, so I don't care to have two. It doesn't bug me to have 2 or 3. So.
Are you gonna go into the price, or can we go into that?
Yeah. Right now we don't know for sure. It sounds like it's going to because the Vita got dropped to 200.
Well, didn't they announce? Was this in the same announcements that it was? Oh, it was like a week before that they did the 200 in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Right.
But it sounds like this newer Vita is only going to cost around 150 after the conversion's done.
Okay,
So,
is that confirmed?
no,
Or-
no. They're like it's the United States gets stuff cheaper than the rest of the world.
Yeah, America.
It sounds like the equivalent.
America.
America.
You gotta.
America.
It sounds like this thing's going to cost about 170 equivalent in yen, $170, which means we'll probably get it for $149.99.
Oh, so are they going to be discontinuing the current?
We don't know yet,
Okay.
and it's also coming in an array of terrible colors.
Like
It's almost as good as
Isn't there a
Apple.
silver one?
Truly, truly
those
awful.
are disgusting.
Those are disgusting.
There's
New
like
iPhones.
there's like a puke green,
maybe 1 or 2 good colors, but
I like
a fucking
the
a pink, like a baby blue powder, fucking awful coloring. I would still just get the black one,
I don't know.
and the white one looks cool.
I don't know what the manufacturing and
Box down.
the full cost is for the Vita at this point. I don't know if they're making or losing money per console sale at this point. I know they were losing at launch.
I think they're making not much, maybe like $10 a unit.
Okay, I wonder if the price drop. They price dropped to 200, knowing they were gonna after the sale of stock, after the stock is out, the inventory is out for the current model, that this would
Put out
just
the new one.
replace it. And then maybe they can be more profitable. Maybe that is what is allowing them to be at the $200 price point, perhaps. I think the biggest thing for non-Vita owners is the price. I really think so. I think even at 200, that's a much better price point. I mean, the 250 was just atrocious. I think for a handheld, dedicated handheld, Nintendo saw that. Now Sony saw that. So I think the sacrifices they're making, I don't really think none of those are notable. In terms of the screen, it's definitely worth it. I think if they could drop the price.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see what the price is, if there is a price. I'm assuming it's just going to be 200.
Well, none of this is coming stateside yet. None of it's confirmed stateside. This is all Japan exclusive so far. But when pressed on it, they're giving that typical, like, I think if it was just a Japanese thing, they'd be like, it's just a Japanese thing. But they're doing that typical corporate, we're just not ready to comment on it yet, blah, 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 blah. And obviously we want to get the Vita out to the maximum amount of people and all that. And
Does it have a price in yen for this
Yeah.
yet? Is it cheaper than the current $200 yen?
yes, that's what I was saying. They converted it already.
Okay.
It came to around 170 US.
So they're going to be selling these side by side then,
Yeah.
in Japan at least. Okay, so it is like a PS Vita Lite, so to
Yeah.
speak. Okay,
It's a slim model. It's going to be the equivalent of the second
if
one.
they
so.
can get that out in the U.S. or like to compete with other handhelds at like 170 or something, then I think that's big.
Mm-hmm.
That's big.
I think the Vita will do better over the course of its life. I think it's got a really slow start, and that's it. I think this thing's going to do really
I don't
well,
know.
actually.
I'm worried about it. Well, I don't have it. I don't play it. I didn't have a PSP, but it comes down to software. And it comes down to what's the market for it. Who are they targeting? I don't know who the target
The problem
market
is it's a really niche market that is not going to... I don't think the thing's ever going to sell more than like 30 million units. But I think it won't be sitting around 4 million forever.
The Vita's been out for
A little over a year. No, a little less than a year.
no.
No.
We are at. You guys
Almost
did.
2 years.
Hold on. You guys did the Vita cast was 2.5. Episode 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll round it up to episode 3. So, 81 weeks the Vita has been on the market.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's a good fucking, yeah. Way to go.
Throwback.
Yeah.
That's all I
First time I
Episode
played
2.5 is
First
going
time
to
I
be linked
played
in the
Vita was at-
description.
episode 8 or whatever
What's
it
that?
was, or 20.
Episode
whatever.
2.5 will be linked in the description.
Well,
Fuck you.
I think it's gonna take off a lot more in the future. Like right now, like there's still an awful. If you're gonna get like a PS4 anyway, and you're even remotely thinking about getting a Vita, this is like an excellent time to do so because with the price drop, there's still a ton of bundles floating around of this Vita that comes with a year of PlayStation Plus, which you're going to need anyway for the PS4. Which is like a $50 value.
And if you buy both
So-
of them, you get a year and 14 days.
Yeah.
And it also comes with a 4 gig memory card. So essentially, the Vita's like $130 if you do that. So but those are going to be getting rarer and rarer as people are scooping them up.
Who do you think the market is for the Vita? Who doesn't own a Vita right now that they're trying to market towards? Are they trying to market towards people who had a PSP to upgrade? Like,
No, I think
do they even know who they're marketing to? Like,
I'm pretty sure because they don't seem worried about it at all.
Oh.
It's everybody else that's very, very worried about it. I think they have a very specific plan for it yet. They're just not letting everybody know what it is yet. I don't know if it's for functionality with the PS4 and all. Like, we don't know yet what they're going to do with it. I think it'll be okay though. I really do. I think it's actually because we should just start talking about the next part because a lot of the stuff.
Before we do, I'm not a Sony handheld guy at all, but I will give them credit. In the course of just shy of 2 years, they have rectified a lot of mistakes that they made with the PSP, which had a 6-year shelf life roughly.
Yeah.
They've already made comparative to the software, the support, the operating system, and even the actual physical hardware itself. They've made a ton of improvements and a lot of leaps and bounds with it.
Yeah, I agree. The second part, and this really ties into most of I've been I've been really dancing around this anyway because I kind of wanted to save it for this part, and this way we could just talk about everything.
So is this part 2?
No. This is the second. This is the only other thing that they announced that I wanted to talk about. Sony also announced this is also a Japan exclusive at the moment. We don't know if or when it's coming to North America. They actually announced a little device called the PlayStation Vita TV. Now, if you have not yet seen it, it's essentially a little box.
There's a link to it on our Facebook page.
It looks.
It will be linked to in the video description.
Fuck you.
Can you give a rundown of what it does?
Yeah.
I'm sure Jason doesn't know.
Yeah,
I know.
It's essentially supposed to be smaller than a deck of cards. I've seen close-up pictures of it. Yeah, probably like that. I think it's gonna be more like this than this though. The thing is unbelievably small. I was looking at the ports on the back. The thing is literally a fingernail higher and a fingernail lower than an Ethernet port, which essentially means the only reason they had to make it that big was because of the Ethernet port. Everything else is smaller, like it's literally that thin. You know what I mean? And it's just like this.
Probably a
That's all it
board,
is.
a few little capacitors
Literally,
on it.
Picture a pure white deck of cards
Yeah.
with an Ethernet port and a memory card port.
It's got a few more than that. It's got a USB drive. It's got a memory slot for Vita cards. It has a tray for Vita cards.
And then it's got you said the USB to charge the controller.
Yeah.
So what would you use this for?
Yeah, this thing has a lot of possibilities, but we don't really know because Sony unfortunately kind of showed it off and dropped it. Like
Last of Us at the E3?
they talked about it for like 2 minutes and just kind of forgot about it for the rest of their presentation. Essentially, what it's supposed to do is be able to play Vita games without the Vita on your television. So if you're somebody like Jason, who has no interest in a Sony handheld at all, but maybe he saw 2 or 3 cool Vita games that he wanted to play, but they didn't justify the purchasing of a
$200
Vita.
purchase.
then he can actually be able to play these with a DualShock controller on his television.
To my understanding, not all games are compatible though.
Yeah,
Anything.
We'll get to that. That's another thing I wanted to. Yeah.
Hands off.
The other things it's supposed to be able to do is you're supposed to be able to stream all your video services to it. It's going to hook up to PSN, and the main focus of it is it's going to have the ability to, as long as you're on the same Wi-Fi network, essentially stream your PlayStation 4 anywhere in the house to any other TV as long as they're in the same Wi-Fi network. This is something they've been boasting for a long time. With the actual Vita is supposed to be able to do this with remote play and all that other shit over Wi-Fi. And so this thing's supposed to be able to do it. So essentially you can have one PS4 in your house, and if you have like 3 or 4 kids, you can buy them all PlayStation Vita TVs, and now everybody has a PS4 in their room.
It's a good play off of, and I know you're not a fan, but Apple does it really well with AirPlay. So if, for instance...
Apple has games?
No, I'm just for the streaming service.
Technology side of it.
Yeah,
no,
theoretically this would work with the streaming service too. Or if you buy a movie on your PS4, you'd be able to stream it to any device.
Well, that's the promise. Is like somebody could be playing Killzone on the PS4
in the front room.
Well,
I could be in your bedroom.
PlayStation Vita could be streaming through Gaikai PS1 or PS2 or PS3 games or PSP games or Vita games.
Well, they're
essentially making this Vita to be backwards compatibility for every Sony product that has ever come out, minus the PS4.
Well, they've said for sure that PS1 games they're on the store for it.
Well, that's because they're ready on the Vita store.
Yes.
There's no porting.
But the comparison that I'll use is I have my iPad here and I have the AV cables and they're hooked up to the TV in the front room. I have season 3 of Walking Dead. I wanted to refresh. It's not on Netflix yet, which would normally be where I watch it. But I have it on my computer. I bought it on iTunes. I'm able to just stream it from the computer to my iPad onto the TV, which is really nice. Mm-hmm. It's almost also too kind of like what the Wii U does with, if somebody's on the big TV, granted it's not a second screen, but if you're somewhere else in the house, you can still interact with your system and buy stuff from the store.
So essentially, what you could do is you could have, PS4s in the front room.
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing Watch Dogs. Tony's in my bedroom.
Streaming Netflix.
Stream Netflix. Well, could you be playing other games and everything like that too?
Because it's just utilizing the PS4 to verify. And
that.
If there's a game streaming, then you're taking up processing.
Do you have to have a controller, or are you going to be playing this?
You're going to be able to play on your DualShock 3.
Okay.
So it's going to not interfere with the PS4 at all.
Okay.
And he can have another Vita in your basement.
Logic is telling me there's going to be a limit. You can't have 4 of these and 4 people playing 4 different games.
Why not?
Because it's all running on the PS4. So it's running on the... So it downloads the game. So the game is actually on your unit.
It's going to depend on the game. Like if it's a Vita game, like that's what I was getting at.
Or the PS4 game.
Okay, that is going to be different when it's streaming a pure PS4 game to any television in the house. I'm assuming there's going to be a limit. I bet you're correct on that.
Yeah.
But what I was getting at is if he's playing whatever Killzone, and I don't have an internet-ready TV nor a PS4 in his bedroom, and I'm over at his house. This thing turns into a Netflix cable device. If he's got an RPS TV in his basement, you could be playing Uncharted Golden Abyss off of that in the basement while Jason's watching Hulu Plus in another room. It can do all that.
To my understanding, you don't even need a PS4 to do this, though. You can just have the standalone unit, right? Mm-hmm. You can just, so... The only thing that it connects with the PS4 is to do the remote play of PS4 games.
Yes.
And if you have digital games, because now you're like I was saying, if something's attached to your account, you can stream it to multiple PlayStation Vitas digitally. They can all be able to play while you're doing something.
I'm interested in this for the simple fact of I want a streaming device for my room. I don't have one. Right now I hook up my iPad. But that's kind of a pain in the ass with the cables and everything.
You got a big stupid wire running from your TV.
4 wires, because there's the 3 that go into the TV, the charger cable, and then into this. And then you got to get up and you got to from here and
The
to get it
screen
to play.
blacks out. You gotta
Exactly.
fucking pause it.
You know, and it's kind of frustrating. And like you alluded to, being able, even if it's cutting the available library in half because they're taking away touch functionality, that realistically the touch functionality is a gimmick.
Really?
Yeah.
You think so?
Insert games. Let's bring that up.
I don't agree with that. Actually.
Let's bring all this up.
It's not
Okay.
a 3DS, dude.
Now with games, what were you gonna say? Let's talk about games.
I think that one of the big things that the Vita has over the 3DS is it's got the back touch and it has dual touch too.
Just because it has it doesn't mean that it's utilized.
Is it utilized for? I mean,
It is.
But
Not well.
to an innovative
No, it
state.
is. It really is.
I don't know that. Well, from
You like holding up your Vita to the light for Uncharted?
No, that was stupid. That was really dumb.
Or what was it? The fucking Dead or Alive? You turn the shit sideways, and it goes into first person view or whatever.
I don't.
Brian
know.
was talking about.
I didn't play that
like
game.
a couple months ago.
So a lot of games do it really, really well. A lot of games don't. The thing with the game collection that's what's worrying me is a lot of people are like, oh, cool, now I don't have to buy a Vita. It's like, well, what Mas is saying that a lot of the shit won't work then. But a lot of the developers, especially Sony-owned publishers that don't have to pay the patching fee, can go ahead and patch half this crap out. Like Golden Abyss could easily patch out all the touch functionality. That was a game that did it poorly. They tacked it on to show you the gyroscope or the gyrometer or whatever the fuck it's called, and the swiping and all that shit. It can easily be patched out.
That's
My
was
phone's
my
got
point.
swipe.
There's other games like I don't know, like Tearaway, the upcoming game, that would be impossible.
Yeah.
You're patching out the game. It's all utilizing touch.
Yeah.
So you're still going to have a significantly smaller library, but a lot of these games, even Killzone's got a lot of touch, but it gives you the option on everything. You can either like pick up ammo by tapping the screen, or you can just hit triangle.
See, that stuff seems gimmicky. But like, I like this. I forgot what was the game they showed when they first showed it with like the back. Is there many games that use the back touch? Like that stuff.
My quick question is which controller is compatible with the Vita TV?
I believe
PS3 is
PS3.
DualShock.
Okay. Theoretically, it could be a PS4 controller though, since it's going to be able
Probably.
to. So they
You
might
can incorporate that touchscreen on there then, yeah.
or. And I know you're gonna hate it, but this would be a smart way to do it. Is if Sony did something like a smart glass where you could
They
be
just got to make it app, yeah.
exactly. You could
There's
be
an app
laying
for
you
it.
could be laying on your bed, playing your game or whatever, and then you can do the touch controls on your phone, throw it back on the bed.
Does any tablet, anything actually have? No, you can't simulate the Vita touch though, because that has the multi-touch and the back touch. That has a back touch.
They'll split the
You
screen.
could cut the screen in half and
Split
do
the
a top
screen.
bottom. I don't think it would work real well.
Yeah, that's just a broken way to play it.
Yeah.
Touch gaming on a handheld, anyways. In my, I know I haven't really experienced the Vita, but it's a fucking gimmick. It's unnecessary.
Vita's is really, really good, but I don't like it either. Whenever it gives me the option to avoid it and just use the regular analogs and buttons, I always use those.
if they put a D-pad and 2 buttons on my iPhone, I'd never use any of the touch features for
I
any
wouldn't
game
either.
ever.
Same thing.
You know, truth be told.
I guess it depends on the game. If it's a game that can be easily customized so that it's touch or no touch, then clearly touch is not important to that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's my basis of it.
But just like Tony said, it's one firmware update from correcting and taking out the touch features.
That's on a lot of games,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of games
Sure,
that they
sure.
cannot patch. this on.
Tearaway, like you
I completely
mentioned.
understand. But like you were saying, something like an Uncharted, very easy to pull off.
Yeah.
When I don't have a Vita, but when I think of I'm gonna take this DS on, and it's not touch, it's stylus, but sort of the same idea.
We're in the same ballpark.
Yeah, like there's games that I don't think I would want to play, or I don't think they'd be any good if they were converted to a D-pad or joystick. They would just be awkward the way it plays, because the game was built around,
Mm-hmm.
and I assume I guess Tearaway is one of the clear examples. I hope that there's more than just that.
Yeah, well, the Vita's got, like, nobody knows because nobody owns these things, but it's got a really, really extensive library of a lot of good games that do a lot of different things. There's just so many variants. I mean, you could take something like Assassin's Creed Liberation. That, from what I can recall, doesn't have touch at all.
I think I remember you saying that.
There's a couple little button thingies you can do if you want, but it's quicker just to tap circle or triangle.
You gonna get the HD remake?
No. Then there's
Really?
Yeah.
Oh god.
The consoles.
they're putting it. Yeah, they're putting it up to board.
One, so there'll be 2 in that given year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's games that do a little bit of both, but give you the option, like Uncharted or Killzone. Uncharted's actually got one feature. I actually do utilize one touch feature now that I think about it. When Nathan Drake's like, instead of hitting what would it be, X a bunch of times to keep jumping from cliff to cliff, it has this really innovative way to go across when there's like 20 jumps to be made. You can actually draw his path and he'll automatically do it, and it's a lot better than sitting there pushing left stick to shimmy over the cliff and then jump to the next one and then shimmy over.
Yeah.
You just go like this and he'll run through the animation. It's really, really cool actually. But that's something that you don't need, you know.
It's a convenience.
And then there's games like Tearaway coming up that really, really, really utilize the touch features on the Vita. So I don't think there's any way that they can do anything about that.
But when you take into the account the this device that they're releasing with what they're packing into this little device and what they're charging for it, which is price competitive to Roku and Apple TV,
Probably around $100.
Yeah, that's what I heard about right about $100. But you're added the features of the entire back catalog of PS1 games, which you don't have to worry about any touch features with. We'll even say 30% of PSP titles, and then your vast library of indie games in smaller, what are they called, minis? Minis that would be available on the system. Add in your streaming services. Add in anything that you buy on PlayStation Network, movie or entertainment-wise, music service, things like that would be able to network your home a little bit better. It's a phenomenal deal. It's brilliant.
I think this thing's gonna. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I actually think this is just my speculation, though. Despite all the things that it does, its number one thing it's going to do is going to be like, I don't even think they need to call it Vita. I don't.
The Vita. No, I want to call it PlayStation PS TV.
It's a bad name.
Yeah, because people think it's
an
Vita to
unfortunate.
play on the
It's
TV.
an unfortunate name.
This is like almost like Nintendo level of deception. With
Because
the
we
name.
got the Nintendo naming people fired, they had to get a job somewhere.
It's a terrible name.
But I think the number one thing it's going to do is going to be for Gaikai when Gaikai comes out. Like I think
Gaikai and streaming services.
That's
for like TV.
exactly what I was gonna get at. This is people are looking at this like it's a way around buying the Vita, and I don't think that's what this is. This thing is, I think the Vita functionality is like 5% of what they're assuming this thing's gonna do.
Oh yeah.
If Gaikai becomes what I hope and what they're claiming it will be, because Sony's been very adamant about this. They didn't backtrack at all. They've been saying this for years, since they acquired Gaikai, that it is going to turn into this superpower thing. That this will essentially be
A Gaikai
an
box.
entire way to avoid backwards. It's going to be backwards compatibility for Sony's entire library minus the PS4.
I actually don't think it will be. I think it's only going to be first party stuff and then games that third parties allow. So of those 2,000 PS2 games that are out there,
Yeah, but you
might only get like 200 of them.
Yeah, but they're probably going to be a majority of what you want.
Well, no, like I don't know. Are you going to get the Konami games on there? Are you going to get Capcom games on there?
They'll want to make the money. Why wouldn't they want to?
Same way that
Some
they,
will.
Is
Rockstar going to put San Andreas?
Maybe. We don't know. It'll be developer by developer. But
It's
I'm
going to
pretty
be
sure.
like Netflix, I think. I think Netflix is the perfect
But-
example where not everything's on Netflix.
Yeah, but we don't know if it's subscription based yet or if it's just a means to backwards compatibility. If it's just a store where you can go in and buy every PS1, PS2, why wouldn't they want a chance to resell their old titles?
I think, well, maybe this is just, again, my
And
prediction
with those legacy sales.
of how Gaikai is going to work. I actually think it's going to be a streaming service. I think, maybe I'm just speculating, but I think it's going to be like Netflix, but I think there's going to be a purchasing aspect to it, where it might be a revolving door where games are not always available, but
You
you
could play
could
some
buy
for a
them.
couple
that are
months
there.
out.
Yeah.
But you could buy them,
Mm-hmm.
and like what I really think this is going to be is it's going to be the next evolution of the PS3, really, where you're not going to need a PS3 anymore once the Gaikai this box is out, because why would you buy a PS3 when you can get all PS3 games on?
Gaikai.
Oh,
On
if Grand
Gaikai.
Theft Auto comes out on that thing immediately. Oh.
Like,
Just
imagine
thought of
if you can play all your PS3 games, at least all the notable ones, on this one, and it's only $100, and you can take it with you. It's a lot.
I think that's the point, and
Yeah.
that's why I think this thing is going to do insanely well.
Yeah.
It's sold out in 3 hours in Japan.
And if I can,
What, they sold all 13 copies or what?
No, the PlayStation Vita TV, every allocation they had for pre-orders was gone in like 3 hours.
if I can really quick, I completely agree with you, Tony. For me, it's I said I will never own a Vita. It has zero appeal to me. There's games on it that I would love to play, but I'm 99% over handhelds. Okay, this is not an answer to the handheld. It's an answer to another problem that I've had, which is I want to incorporate a streaming box into my network, my home network, for what I have, with the added bonus of, even if it's, like I said, 30% of the available library, it already trumps what Roku and Apple TV offer, because you can't play games on those. And then when you think of the open accessibility that Sony generally offers with their products, I'd be able to patch my Plex network right into it also, and have my entire streaming library that I have on my computer accessible in my bedroom then.
Yeah, I think this thing's a brilliant move.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, I think that's why the name is so unfortunate, because
This is what Microsoft was rumored to be doing a year ago.
the Vita functionality is not the main selling point. It's just
It's a great add-on.
yeah, it's one thing it does, but the way that they're marketing it, it's going to make it sound like that's
agree.
its point. Which,
I agree.
But I think this thing's going to do phenomenal. I really do. The one thing that's going to be curious to find out is whether or not these are going to count as Vita sales, because it is technically a Vita.
Yeah, and if right now there's obviously no Western release or anything like that for it, I hope it's region free, because I'll probably just buy one from over there and ship it over.
I'm pretty sure what they're doing is they're reversing
The
because
PS4 and the Vita.
This thing is literally coming out a day or two before or after the PS4 launch is here. So we're getting the PS4 and they're getting Vita TV,
And the
I'm-
Vita Reader's
and
out?
they're gonna get in February. They're gonna get the PS4. So I wouldn't doubt sometime in the spring we'll have the PS Vita TV available.
Maybe we might get a different name for it here though.
We could.
They could just call it the PS TV.
Which was what they should be doing. Also, because remember a couple weeks ago there was that rumor that popped up that Sony was starting a streaming television
Yeah.
thingy that
They were trying to lock
acquiring.
in. They were trying to
Trying
lock
to
in.
lock down
So,
people.
Sony's huge. I mean, you can't just think of them as PlayStation. They have Sony Columbia, which fucking has a gazillion
If
movies out
they
already
just
that-
decide to work together, like what we were talking about in
So,
part
so
one.
Sony is the worst big company in the world. They don't like the different divisions don't even talk to one another.
Just the app.
It's like half of Sony shit doesn't
Just
work.
the app. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, like
Sears.
half the fucking divisions don't talk to one another. They don't like. They're all like little businesses. Well, they're all big divisions, but they don't even like treat themselves like as a true.
They're separate businesses under one corporate umbrella.
Yeah, like it's really weird the way that company's like, I don't know, handled. But if Jason said if they would just talk to each other, that'd be a ton of available content. Just through Sony Pictures, it'd be ridiculous because they don't have to pay themselves to license that stuff out.
Like I keep
and
saying,
then you go and acquire
Purest
different
money
deals.
it would just on a streaming media level, it would compete really well with what Amazon and Roku and Apple are doing.
Target. Soon.
Unbelievable. But literally, I mean, it would put them in I would say in a solid second place, because I mean, Apple TV doesn't have an app store. You can't really play any
Didn't it
games
just
on
launch?
it. I know it was in rumor. I don't know if they actually patched it through. It's irrelevant though because it's not. It doesn't even offer that whatever little percentage of gaming experience that the PS Vita TV is going to offer. They don't offer that.
Yeah.
You know, like the little Google stick. Yeah, it's $35. You know, it's dirt cheap, but you know what other than just Netflix and stuff that we all already have.
Roku box.
And in 90% of our rooms, what else can you do with it?
I think Roku's going to be in a lot of trouble if they don't do something or partner with somebody because the Chromecast is a Roku player, but a third of the price.
Yeah.
The Vita's in a different market because it's going to do. It's a lot more expensive than the Chromecast, but it does significantly.
But
more
it's on par with the
with the
two
Roku,
big.
which does nothing.
Yeah, it's on par. When right now when you think of streaming boxes, I know the Chromecast just launched a month ago,
Sold out everywhere.
and they're like impossible to
You
find.
can't find one.
So when
Yeah,
you think
over
of
1,000
streaming,
on back
when you
order.
think of dedicated streaming boxes right now, you have Roku, and you have Apple TV. Those are the two that you could walk into any big box retailer and find. Now there's a third, and I think that new entry point will trump those other two, and it's price competitive to them. Are they offering a controller with it?
Yes, it's
Okay.
$150.
Well, now it's $150
It's a true DualShock.
with the controller and the memory card.
Yeah,
Yeah, but or you can get just the unit itself.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
When
then
you think about it,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
when you think about it, when you look at the bundle, if you will, with the controller and the memory card, the controller retails for $55. What size is the memory card?
It's just like a 4 and 8 gig. I forgot.
Okay, $20-30.
Not even.
Well,
16.
proprietary.
They're
$20.
cheap. They're cheap.
Okay. Either way, we'll mark it at 75. We'll round it up, right? So that makes the
Vita TV only $75.
yeah, which is insane. You just dribble on
It just
yourself.
spilled everywhere.
You should be happy. This is the most I've talked about Sony and have been excited about them since I sat down in this chair. I didn't even get
You've
excited.
only been in
about
that chair for what, 2 weeks now, though?
What's that?
You've
Shut
only been in
up.
this chair for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think
3 at
that-
most.
What were you about to say?
This guy's just busting my balls.
Just my, I guess, final
Breaking my
thought.
balls.
I don't think it's really competing with Roku at all. I don't think any of that is. That's like just something it does, like the Netflix and the Hulu and all that. So that's just extra. I think it's. I'm sticking to the point. It's a Gaikai box. That's what it is. Because that other stuff, I honestly think that's actually going out of date, because that's only for old stuff. It fixes old stuff to be
Any
compatible.
new TV has all of that pre.
Right. Yeah.
Any new TV, all of those are pre-installed.
I think by maybe 2014, like end of 2014, it's gonna be hard to find a non-smart TV. Like
Yeah.
I don't
brand new.
disagree, but when you look at the pedigree of tacking on the name of Sony or Apple to it,
It's just
They-
Sony
they-
and TVs.
they can granted, yes, you can buy a Sony TV.
Sony TV,
And
the top of the line.
You can buy a
nothing better.
Sony TV, but will it play video games?
No.
No, it might have like fucking Snake or whatever on like
That's
they
why I
have
find
now.
this thing so interesting, is because it's not just that one thing.
Mhm.
I think these are all little parts. Like, sure, maybe like what you were saying. I actually think that's a really good point what you brought up, but that's not its only selling point. Like Roku and stuff may be in trouble because of that, but that's just one of the many things it does. It also turns your PS4 on any TV in your house over Wi-Fi, and it also can play Vita games, and it's also, like you're saying, probably just a Gaikai box, and it's all these things
And
that
just-
all, even if they're all 10% of what it does, like $100 is cheap enough for an impulse buy, where if you only need one or two of those features, you'd grab one, and everything else is just a bonus.
I really quick. I understand smart TVs have streaming services built into them, but they don't necessarily have the networking aspect that would be available with it. Also, like I was alluding to earlier, I would spend $100 for a device to be able, even if I have a smart TV, to network it with what I already have going on to stream the stuff that I have onto another TV.
The other thing too is smart TVs have such low processing power; they're awful. Like my dad's got this really nice Samsung smart TV, 3D fucking top of the line fucking thing, And it's like it's so slow, dude.
He's got that.
It's
He's
so-
got that. Is it the 60-inch with the no fucking edges?
Yeah.
That's the same thing my cousin has. He was trying to set Netflix on it. I'm like, this is fucking horrible. Turn on your Xbox.
Yeah, it's really slow because the chips in there are just not very powerful.
And then you're
at all.
trying to navigate it with a remote.
Fun fact: I literally took apart. I don't even know how many of those last week.
Yeah.
The smart TVs. Like I've been seeing the chips in front of me.
And
Not impressive.
I have no idea what they are. Like I leave, I'm like, I've never heard of
I
this.
stepped on that one. Oops.
I dropped
They're-
one TV.
They function. I don't want to
Yeah,
make it
it's junk,
sound.
though.
I don't want to make it sound like that. They function. They're just
No, they function. It just
like
they're
I just
not-
I use my really old Xbox 360. What is it? 8-year-old tech at this point, and it's way faster. And smart TVs will get better as time goes on.
Yeah,
but
because the
for-
smart TV thing is still new to them.
Yeah.
If I think the reason why I have such it's all gaming related. If Sony was going to put out a machine to compete with Apple, I don't think they'd put it under the PlayStation brand.
Oh, I would. I would.
I think the reason they did that is because it's video game centric and it's
I-
their future. Which
that-
is, I think, their
PlayStation's one of their most profitable parts.
And
of all
you
of
put
their
and
divisions,
the
though.
one downside to the Apple TV is you can't play games on it.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do Netflix,
It's
you
a
can do
useless
Hulu.
device in my opinion.
You
the Apple
exactly.
TV.
You could do Netflix. You could
Got
do
replaced.
Hulu, and you can you can access your iTunes music, photos, and library.
It's like,
Which-
5 years too late. The Apple TV. It should have been out in like 07.
It
or
was.
08.
Apple-
Oh, it was.
Yeah,
Apple-
Yeah, it
they're,
is.
they're
the
on
oldest
they're on
one.
like 8th generation of it. Just so you know.
Yeah, it is the oldest one. It just
Yeah.
Apple's really unique. Like I mean this nicely, Jason, not in a bad way. Like Apple has such a strong following, even if something doesn't really have a place, but it's branded as Apple, people will buy it.
Like I was just
If you
like
build
I
it,
was
they
just
will
saying,
come. They
I'm
will, like-
this close to buying an Apple TV just for my bedroom because this is a pain in the ass to do. But then this thing came out because I know at least the Apple TV will access my computer.
you
As
can
to
get
where,
that at my work.
what?
Apple TV.
I actually have an. I don't know if I got one for Christmas. I never opened it.
So you want to sell it?
I don't know if my brother still has it or not.
Want to sell it? Want to sell it, motherfucker? Want to sell
I'll
it?
get back to you on that.
Okay.
All right, I got one more thing, and then we could do some final thoughts on this piece. So me and Jason I cut us off. We were talking about this before we started recording, and I wanted to save it for the show. Will this thing, the PlayStation Vita TV, is this going to affect Vita sales?
You know, initially I thought it would if because you get a little bit of a muddied market there, okay, and because and it's not that I was under the assumption that it would play everything. I kind of had an idea that the touch-based games were going to have a problem with the transition, but it was more of Wii U kind of issue where you have something very similar in name. People don't really differentiate. Okay, but now when I go back and I just defended the thing so heavily, I don't think it will. I still don't agree with the name.
Name's terrible.
They need to drop
Yep.
the Vita off the name.
Refire the Nintendo guys that are now
PlayStation-
Sony guys.
PlayStation TV is what you should have called it.
You know, PlayStation TV featuring Vita if you have to have Vita in there, whatever. But
I would almost said Sony TV.
It also turns your TV into a PSP on your TV too, because it has all the
Yeah.
It's a lot of games.
you know, but now I go back on what my initial statement was because I've in this conversation have brought up so many more valid points that I'm not going to buy it just to play Vita games. There's so much more, and like you said, it has the potential to be a Gaikai streaming box down the line, and if this thing does take off as well as it has in the East, we're just going to look at revamped iterations, and this will be an ongoing stable in the bigger Sony picture going forward.
I hope they're finally starting to get it, where they're actually starting to make this ecosystem.
They shouldn't have made
where
it white either.
Everything that's coming together.
Should have
they're
been black.
Yeah.
They're trying to appeal to the Apple a little too much.
If anything,
Even their TVs are almost all black or silver.
Yeah.
if anything,
I don't know if they have a white one.
even from a really selfish standpoint, I think this is going to do nothing but help, because I really don't think they're competing with one another. There's not an insane amount of people that want a Vita. There are a lot of people on the fence. They're just waiting for another price drop or a few more games or whatever.
And see, that's where I initially thought it would hurt
But
it.
But I really don't think it's going to affect it because those people are still going to want the actual Vita to play on the go. If anything, all it's going to do is up the numbers of available units that are able to play Vita games, and then developers will see that, and there will be more of a reason to develop games. That's the problem with getting stuff that's non-indie or non-Sony made right now on the Vitas. There's not a big enough install base. And if all of a sudden you got these 5 million real Vitas and another 10 million Vita TVs, now you have 15 million people to play that game.
I just thought of another really cool aspect, if I can, and I don't mean to knock Nintendo about it, but this has the potential to do something in a larger scale that Nintendo wanted to do, where you can transition from you're playing a game on your TV, okay, oh hey, it's time to go, switch it right to your Vita and keep going.
Yeah,
that's not an announced feature, but it's something very easy to do. You know, with a crossplay or
they
however it
already
works.
do it. You can be on your PS3 playing Guacamelee,
but I'm saying, like,
and just
if
pick it up on your Vita and go.
Purely from a Vita standpoint, you know, Vita to Vita,
yeah.
You know, that is
Well,
another.
if they could do
huge-
it, if they could do a PS3 to Vita, they'll do
Yeah.
Vita.
That's not really Vita.
Yeah,
I've seen companies do stupider things. You never. I'm just saying.
yeah, that is another cool. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, there's a lot of
I was
possibilities.
like, shit, I
It
gotta
just-
leave to go to the podcast.
It just
you know?
it depends what fucking they actually do. Like right now, I'm excited for everyone else.
I know you're sporting a half mask there.
This doesn't have
Like,
like-
you look, Mark.
any appeal to me. Like for me personally, I already have the Vita, and every device I have does all this stuff already.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on the Gaikai, but they're not trying to sell it to me. I already have the Vita. I don't care. I'm happy of what this is going to do for the Vita. Like all the like Mark's another one who was like no Vita, no Vita, no Vita. Now you're probably gonna have one. And same thing with Jason.
See,
You know what I mean?
Before we move on,
I don't know.
to-
I don't mobile game enough still, so we'll see.
Before we move on to
It's not mobile gaming.
Well, that's why I would use it.
Before we move on to part two, okay, we'll go down the line really quick. Yes or no for a buy? Okay, for the PS Vita TV.
That's what I was trying to just get
Okay,
at.
I want everybody.
Probably not, because I already have the Vita, unless it does something really cool, like maybe what you were saying, or maybe so many games come up that I'm tired of looking at that little screen and I'd rather just play them up on TV. Maybe, or I have a really good night at the club and I'm just like, yeah, let me get this thing and support Sony or whatever. Maybe, but for me, I'm just more excited for everybody else.
So
not
as
me.
of right now, with the current
Probably
standing, it's probably not for you. Mark?
Mine's a probably not.
Okay.
Really? I thought you were super stoked when it first came out. When it got announced, you were on the fucking thing like, yes.
That was me.
Was that you?
That was him. Yeah.
Oh.
It was the
My bad.
Moss? No.
No, unless wait and see on Gaikai.
For me, just
That's
like
why I'm a
like I
probably
was saying,
just to see if something else comes up with it.
I have a use for it as of right now.
Right, man.
I also there are a handful of Vita games because, and he's gonna rub it in like he always does, because I am a PlayStation Plus member. I do have a pre-existing library of games that I cannot currently access that I will be able to access right off the bat.
That's where I think this price cut's going to help a lot because
I'm not buying a fucking handheld.
no, the people are forced now to get PlayStation Plus, and when they keep throwing these things at you, I think a lot of people later on down the line, maybe in another price cut or something, when you have literally 50 or 60 games
You're
on
welcome.
on your Vita that they've given you over the course of the last 3 years that you've just been staring at that you can't play. And maybe the Vita's now $120 or something on Black Friday because it got a $150 price cut with a pack-in game and a memory card and all this other stuff. You're like, man, for $100 and I got all these games already. Let me just fucking grab this thing. I don't know. That stuff I think is going to come together for them in a couple years. The PS3 was a really, really bad start. And then everything came together for them, and that's why I think they're not worried about the Vita. They're going to get the support for it. They're going to keep pumping out great games. I think it'll come. I really do.
I think
That's
this will
what she said.
succeed, and Vita will continue to dwindle and become more irrelevant. I don't think the Vita. The name alone is the only connection between these things, and it plays some of the games. But I think its success has nothing to do with Vita at all. The console.
So
How dare you?
now you got to do the jingle again because I'm splitting it, so the banner's going to change.
Maybe we should just end part 2 and do part 3.
Could.
This has been.
What do you want me to do?
Let's
You know,
end.
that ran a little long, and it'll help me on video quality. I can still release them the same day.
So what do you want me to do?
This has been part 2.
Part 2.
All right, this has been episode 84, part 2. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch us next week, same time, same place.
Part 3. Part 3.
Part 3.
Part 3.